Okay guys, so this is going to be the video that's taking place of the notes we were supposed to have today. This is our function right here, this weird looking graph, okay? It's kind of like in two pieces, and it's like that on purpose because I'm trying to show you some different properties of this. In this graph, we're going to talk about the domain and the range, okay? And then some properties about intervals and positive, negative, etc. So first of all, let's look at the domain. Okay, the domain here you can see is -5 through 0. This symbol right here means and then 1 through 5. So the way that works is since we have two pieces, okay, then we have to have two domains. So the first piece is this one right here. And if we come down to the x-axis, we see that it lands on -5 and 0. So that's why the first one is -5 comma 0. And since this is a closed circle, we have a bracket. This is an open circle, so we have a parentheses. The second piece works similarly, except now we have to look at the second piece. So this is our second piece, this part right here, from this point, so 1 to this point, 5. Okay, remember we're looking at the x value since it's domain, so it's 1 through 5. And then we have a closed circle and an open circle. So bracket for closed, parentheses for open. Okay, and that's it for the domain. For the range, we have to go from here, the bottom, to the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my pen and find the bottom of both pieces. Remember, it's one big graph together, just kind of split into two. So here's my lowest point, and it looks like that goes through -4. Okay, it's an open circle, so we start with a parentheses because remember that parentheses are for open circles, and -4. If I keep moving my pen up, the highest point is these 3 points, and they are all on the same number, which is 5. They are all solid points, so we go ahead and use a bracket for the 5. And that's it for domain and range. Okay. The next part is telling us to define interval. This is just a definition, okay? An interval is a range of numbers. Usually we look at what between x values. So if I said, what is the interval of this graph in general? You would say, well, it's between -5 and 5. So the entire graph is between those two numbers. And again, we're looking at the x values. So it's just a definition. Number 2. On what intervals is f of x greater than 0? And then it says that means positive, and then it says above x-axis. So a couple things about this one. F of x is the same as y, okay? So you can also say, when is y greater than 0? Well, y is greater than 0 in these two quadrants. So if I were to cover this up, this is quadrant 1. Right? And this is quadrant 2. And up here, the y-axis is all positive. So anywhere that the graph is above the x-axis, that's the interval that we're going to be looking at. Okay? So I want to know between what x values, so between here and between here, okay, because those are the endpoints, that would be my interval for where this graph is on top of the x-axis, above. So it looks like the first one, this number, is -5, okay? And the second number is this one right here, which happens to be 4.5. So that's why for this one, the answer is, let me see, above the x-axis, -5, and it goes through 4.5. Now you see that there's also a u here, okay? And the reason I did that is because, well, there's kind of a gap in between here. So we do have to do it in pieces. We're going to say, well, this piece is on top of the graph. So there's that one. -5 through 0. And then this piece is, this piece is on top of the graph. So that would be 1 all the way to 4.5. That's what we have there. Number 3 is the opposite. So it's saying on what intervals is it negative? So when is the graph below the x-axis? So I'm going to cover the top part now, and it's only below in this one tiny little spot, okay? But remember that we're looking at the x values. So the x value for this point right here is 4.5. The x value for this one is 5. So the only place it's going to be negative is between 4.5 and 5. And finally, the last one that I went over today for the other classes was what values of x is f of x equal to 0. This just means where are the x-intercepts. It's a fancy way of saying, tell me where it crosses the x-axis. And it does that in two places. It crosses the x-axis right here at -3 and right here at 4.5. So those are the two numbers that I went ahead and included here. -3, 0 and 4.5, 0. And that is it for this quick, super quick video.